I guess the natural extension of that is, how did you make that sustainable? How do we make sure we don't lose it? Because that's part of what we're talking about here today. We've really got three important words: positive, sustainable, change. Right. So I'd love to maybe dig in on sustainable. What other tips can we put in place to keep it going?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Right. Why is it that people don't trust the consultant? Right. The guy shows up with a briefcase and a plan, and this is going to be this great change to your organization. 6 months later, the new and shiny's worn off, and we're right back to where we were before. Right. So how do we prevent that from happening? Okay, let's start with maybe looking at this as on a personal level, and then maybe we look at some organizational examples. This is where that concept of small experiments is so important. And I realized for folks who are driven achievers, they like to go out and they want to climb Mount Everest. As soon as I said small, I may have lost it. But here's the deal. If we want to make changes that last, rather than focusing on the large thing that I'm wanting to accomplish, we are actually better served by setting goals so small, so focused, there's no excuse for missing them. And then rinse and repeat. So I'm not saying give up on the big change that you want to create either for yourself or your organization, but I'm saying focus on that next small step that's so laser focused. There's no excuse for missing it. Again, for me, what were the constraints with my push-up example? Time, energy, all these things. And I thought, gosh, I don't have the energy to go run. I don't have the energy or time to go join a gym. What am I going to do? Well, okay, I can do some push-ups.
Great example.
And even seeing this with thinking about like your book, the author versus editor dilemma. I've worked with several managers who have a common struggle that you point out, which is one of the reasons I like your book so much, about they've become the go-to person in their organization, right? And I think this is a great example of Marshall Smith's observation that what got you here won't get you there, right? Because what gets you into those positions, you're reliable, you're sharp, you get things done, you're a go-to person. And then you start managing other people and they all start coming to you and you can't take care of your own stuff, much less all their stuff.
Right.
So as folks are dealing with that, a common small experiment we'll use, and this is very small, but it creates big change, is when they come, we'll say, or the client would say, okay, well, what would you do, right? So the direct report comes in, they're asking a question, and it's just a simple reply. What would you do? And if that direct report has something that will work, great, go do that. And what's happening there? Well, one, you're freeing up some executive decision-making space in your own head because you're not solving all these problems. Two, you're allowing a person to discover where they do have some knowledge and competency. Because one of the reasons people come is they just want that reassurance, right? They just want to know they don't want to get in trouble, especially maybe if there's been an organizational change. And then three, it's also a training opportunity, right? Micro training. And of course, over time, what happens? Well, the manager's building capacity in their team, again, with just this very small behavioral change. And the focus, the other thing I want to feature here is that the focus of small experiments is not, and this is what makes it sustainable, the focus is not whether or not we succeed or fail. The focus is what am I learning and how can I apply that moving forward?